Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Loftus Road. Norwich City in Carabao Cup action tonight against QPR. Of course, this fixture delayed by 7 days or so, 8 days or so, because QPR have been renovating their pitch. And as we are massive grass connoisseurs, it does look absolutely fabulous. So let's hope we see some good football on it tonight. Connor South, we're joined by Paddy Davitt. We will, of course, have the Norwich City team when it drops momentarily. We've got about a minute and thereafter to run through all of the stuff that has happened in the last 12 hours, 24 hours or so. It's been a busy one. This afternoon, Milo Rashid's move to Besiktas has been confirmed. The Turkish clubs, when they can complete a transfer, have to publicly publish all of the information relating to that transfer. They are saying it as a transfer fee of 5.25 million euros. As we speak, Tim Krul is putting the finishing touches on his move to Luton Town. That may well be done tonight, might well go into tomorrow morning. Norwich are pretty much ready to go with George Long joining from Millwall when that happens. And then there is a Brazilian midfielder called, you guys remind, Pedro Lima, who is of interest for a development signing. Reports from Brazil saying that that's going to be a straight loan, no permanent option on that. So we'll await that one. I think that's all of the transfer lines there. I'm sure we'll recap lots more of them as we head into the show. But we have got the team news. There's 8 changes for Norwich City. They line up with Angus Gunn in goal, Fisher, Duffy, Omobamidele and Poeta as the back 4, Gibbs and McLean as the midfield 2, and it'll be Springett, Nunez and Fashnacht behind Adamida. The subs bench, John McCracken, who I didn't mention in the opening game, but he's been recalled from a loan at Dundee. Ben Gibson, Jayden Warner, Sam McCallum, Gabriel Sarah, John Rowe, Onel Hernandez, Ashley Barnes and Josh Sargent. 8 changes for Norwich City. Which one is grabbing your attention, Paddy, out of all of those?
Probably Omobamidele, because the theme of this so far, Connor, has been transfer business. And he's the big imponderable over the remaining 3 weeks. Does he go? If he does, Norwich will twist again. If they don't, they won't. Certainly not in terms of frontline business. I mean, to give you an idea of where Lima fits into the pecking order, I've just been told that David Wagner's is not involved in that process at all, doesn't even really know too much about that player. So he's clearly not one, if that does transpire, that he comes from Palmeiras to England, at least in the short term. Whatever the Brazilian media are reporting, he is not going to be part of Norwich's first team. So, yeah, of those in the lineup tonight, Omobamidele, first start of the season. Be interested to see what his mentality is like. I'm sure he'll want to have a good hit out and try, because until something does materialise, he's a Norwich player and he'll want to push himself into the conversation to start a championship game. And Millwall is the next opportunity here on Sunday back at Carabao Road. He needs to show tonight that, irrespective of what happens or doesn't happen in terms of transfer-wise, he should be in there alongside Duffy, who's the one constant in that back 4 from the weekend. And that's the reality. As we sit here, I don't believe there's anything firm or moving in an advanced fashion around Andrew Omobamidele's future. So, hypothetically, to draw a parallel with a player who has now left, Max Aarons, the amount of windows where we thought he's going, he's linked left, right and centre, he never went, and then he had to get his head back down again, and that was never an issue for Max, as we know. It's not beyond the realms that come September the 1st, when the transfer window is closed, Andrew Omobamidele is still a Norwich player, because as Norwich have proven both in the Rashid's negotiations / deal now with Besiktas and also with Max, they're going to play as hard a ball game as they can in terms of negotiation. So I don't think it's inevitable Andrew goes in the next 3 weeks, and if he doesn't, then maybe tonight is the start of him making a compelling case for, in that scenario, being in the championship lineup alongside Shane Duffy. So of the 11 in tonight, interested to see young Callum Fisher, what he does in a more competitive setting. He certainly caught the eye in pre-season, but this is a different kettle of fish. And obviously Poeta, it looks like, again, on the left-hand side of a defence. So we'll see a little bit more about that experiment, which we saw for the first time in pre-season. So there are some very intriguing elements to the selection tonight, but if you ask me, the one standout is definitely the sight of Omobamidele in the lineup.
What do you make of Poeta at left back? Sam McCallum obviously on the bench. He's not been involved in either two of the matchday squads. There's been was it illness he had a little bit of an issue with that ruled him out of the first one. Yeah. What do you make of him being ahead of Sam McCallum? Can we read anything into that? Is that just David Wagner looking to continue an experiment that he started in in pre-season. What's your reading into that situation?
Well, I mean, for me, that would suggest he is ahead of McCallum. And what that says for McCallum, I mean, there was the link to Swansea, wasn't there? But I think they've gone subsequently and brought in a player, haven't they, in the left-hand side of their defence. So, again, he's one I could see feasibly moving on, a little bit like Tim Krul. You know, there may be a scenario where it makes sense for all parties, really, between now and the end of the window. And if that was the case, we're dealing in a lot of hypotheticals, but Poeta as a left-back, David clearly and his coaching staff have seen something they feel they can work with. He talked, I think, in Austria when we saw it for the first time, that clearly he has things to learn positionally in terms of the role, but athletically they feel he can do that role as a defensively minded left-sided defender. So we might find out a little bit more tonight, really, because I don't think you can really judge too much in pre-season. The game I'm thinking about was the Toulouse game, and he had, I think it was Ben Gibson that day. He was more or less coaching him through. I know it was pre-season, but you know, he needed a lot of work. It felt positionally to know where he was and where he needed to be. So for me, I think I don't think Poeta is necessarily a left back option at this stage, but you know, maybe David has seen something. I still think you've got players like, you know, Fisher, potentially he could play left side as well, I think. And if McCallum doesn't go, then of course he's in the equation as well. So yeah, we'll see a little bit more tonight. But personally, I wouldn't want to see Poeta playing left back in the Championship, if I'm brutally honest. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. Just looking down the list as I am, it's obviously a first competitive start for Callum Fisher tonight. He, of course, signed for the club from non-league Bromby in the summer. He was expected to join up with the development of the squad as well, which is pertinent. Maybe we've been discussing Pedro Lima and impressed David Wagner so much he's been elevated into his plans. No Jack Stacey at all in the matchday squad. No Timmy Yanulis at all in the matchday squad. David Wagner taking an opportunity to rest both of those players. We know how intrinsic those fullbacks are to the way he likes to play. You mentioned Andrew Mbamidele, first start of the season. Same for Poeta, same for Gibbs. Kenny McLean retains his place as almost a continuity figure. I think that's maybe interesting that we see Duffy and McLean staying in there. Tony Springett and Fashnacht on either side. Fashnacht obviously making his first start. I did want to ask you about Tony Springett though, because he's someone who was out on loan last season. He spent the second half of last season on loan at Derby. He didn't play too much. Then there was an injury. I remember I was going to go and watch him play at Peterborough, and he didn't get off the bench, but he was kind enough to have a chat with me after the game. So that was nice. What have you made of him being, I guess, reintegrated and pushed forward now, and very much viewed by David Wagner as a first team option?
Yeah, well, I mean, I put it directly to him. I think we had the quotes online earlier today, actually. I asked him after the Southampton game. You clearly have seen something in Tony Springett, you know, because for me what stood out was he threw him on half an hour to go Saturday. That was a critical part of the game, and he trusted him to go in and do that role in the midfield. And he talked about his attitude, his application, but also his tactical now, so that he's able to, you know, handle the sort of demands that David places on his midfielders. So, you know, ultimately David is the judge, and it's his opinion that matters, and he feels that Tony Springett is a player he can work with. I wouldn't completely rule out between now and the end of the window if his minutes recede. You obviously got Borja Sainz to drop back into the mix. Fashnacht will push himself forward with each passing game in a Norwich shirt. There could be a scenario, I guess, with him that you could feel that his development is better served going out on loan. So at the moment, no, he's clearly caught the eye, and he's got another chance tonight to do that. I think it's a big night for Liam Gibbs, if I want to broaden it out a little bit. You know, he's had to defer clearly to McLean and Zara, and you can't really argue on the evidence of the first two Championship games, but new contract in his back pocket, young player of the year last season. He will be himself, I'm sure, expecting to kick on again. And, you know, he, at this stage, not going to have too many opportunities in the Championship early doors, so this is a good chance for him tonight to just put a marker down and alongside McLean, just remind David what he's all about, and that, you know, maybe through that, then we will start to see a little bit more of him, because so far he's obviously had to settle for a watching brief.
Yes, he has. Let's bring you that QPR team as well. Gareth Ainsworth did tease there'd be quite a few changes, and we're seeing that as well. They have Archer in goal. I think Adam is scrambling to try and get it up, and there it is. This is how it looks like they're lining up in a 3-5-2 formation. Archer in goal, Kai Gubbins and Larkesh is the back three. Duke McKenna and an Albert Adoma, the two wing backs. Dixon Bonnerfield and Dazelle, former Ipswich Town Academy graduate, of course, with Lyndon Dykes and Taylor Richards up front. Their subs bench: Joe Walsh, Morgan Fox, Kenneth Powell, Aaron Drew, Trent Randall, Rafferty Pedder, Alex Aurora, Rayan Coley, and Stephen Barlow. And it's been quite a, I don't know the word, maybe disappointing is a bit strong, maybe not been quite the pre-season that they or Gareth Ainsworth would have hoped for. And I think he's found himself a little bit under pressure, particularly after, of course, that opening day defeat to Watford. They were beaten 4-0, but they did beat Cardiff at the weekend, and he spoke in depth about changing the system and changing the style of play in order to get that result. Should we speak about Sunday, Paddy? Because obviously plenty to discuss here, and we've got a game to get through first. And of course, Bristol City are awaiting the victors of this tie, which we're absolutely infused about, the idea of going to Bristol City on a Tuesday night, as I'm sure those Norwich fans are. And I am actually, before we move on to this section, worth saying 1,500 of them here tonight. That's a sold-out away end from the tickets they were given. Some effort for a Tuesday night. Anyway, Sunday, everyone will have seen, I'm sure, the Lionesses got through to the World Cup final earlier today. Norfolk's own Lauren Hemp scoring the second goal, setting up the third to help them book their place in Sunday's final. They're going to play Spain. They beat Australia 3-1 this afternoon. Brilliant achievement first and foremost for Lauren, and it's been brilliant watching her progress throughout the tournament. She was brilliant this afternoon. But lots of chatter, Pad, about maybe what this could mean for Norwich City, who, as it stands, are going to be kicking off. Is it midday kickoff? Yeah. Midday kickoff on Sunday. That will obviously clash with the second half of the Women's World Cup final, of which kicks off at 11. We've tried to clarify this, and it's worth reiterating. This isn't on Norwich to change. It was obviously a game that was selected for broadcast by Sky Sports in an agreed slot with the EFL. Therefore, it would be up to those two, both the broadcasters and the governing body, to come up with an agreement that would basically say to Norwich and Millwall and seek an agreement for those two clubs about whether they wish to move this game. What are we feeling at the moment, Paddy, as we sit here now, given it obviously has happened earlier this morning, this afternoon, still plenty of water to flow under the bridge, but as of at the minute, what's the sense you're getting on this one?
Well, as you've mapped it out there, it is worth to reiterate it. It's not going to be Norwich or Millwall driving this. It's going to come from primarily Sky, because they've selected the game for live broadcast, and the EFL. They will have to indicate to Norwich, not the other way around. So Norwich really don't have too much leverage they can bring to none, truth be told. No, I don't think it will get changed, because it comes down to Sky and their schedules, and I've not checked, but clearly if it's a 12 o'clock kickoff, there'll be other games right there in the Sky Live schedule on Sunday.
Yeah, they've got one at 2 and 4.
Yeah, so absolutely zero chance if I was to see how these scenarios are played out in times past, and it comes just down to the broadcasters. And Sky don't have the World Cup rights today. It's on the BBC, as far as I'm aware, in the UK. So I don't see it. They'll have to fill their schedules with something, and a huge shame. Yeah, I mean we'll obviously get to see the first half, won't we? But if you get to Carabao Road early, you'll be able to watch it. But a lot of smartphones will probably be pulled out in press box as well. So it is a shame. But I just don't see any scenario where Sky are going to look at it and think, I tell you what, we'll take a game off our schedules and we'll replace it with what. So it's not going to happen, is it?
Should be bigger questions, but again, not of Norwich City, because it's absolutely nothing to do with Norwich, absolutely nothing to do with Millwall. This is purely a question for broadcasters and league more widely. But should questions be asked of the fact that a game was pushed into this slot in the first place, given that the Women's World Cup has been scheduled now for a long time? England are the European champions. Maybe a little bit of common sense could have appreciated that this was a possibility. This situation panning out. Should there have been a bit more due diligence done, I guess, about the fact that this possibility could have occurred?
Yes, yeah, but obviously we're not in that process, so it's for Sky really to come out and explain their thought process. They don't. I'm just trying to think. They don't have the WSL either, do they? Or do they?
They do, yes.
They do. So they do have a commitment to women's football.
I'm sure they'll be celebrating across their channels if England go on to win it.
You can guarantee they will. So, who am I to opine about this topic? But if I'm looking at it from a commercial standpoint, I think it might make better sense to, as you say, come out and be seen to really supporting England this Sunday, because off the back of that, if England win, even if they don't, the uptick in terms of interest for the next WSL season is going to be massive. We saw it after the Lionesses won the Euros in this country, but a World Cup win on top of that. And who are going to be the beneficiaries in terms of the TV sort of audiences? Sky. So we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in the intervening days. But if you ask me, will Norwich be kicking off at 12 on Sunday? Yes, they will.
I agree. It just it feels like an almighty shame. Doesn't necessarily feel like something that would be happening if, say, England's men's team were playing a World Cup final on Sunday, as could have been the case, of course, when the Championship resumed last winter. So it is a shame, but there you go. Were Norwich... No, they wouldn't have been. That was a Sunday, wasn't it, the World Cup final? So I don't think they've been involved. But Premier League games were cancelled for that, of course. So, yeah, a little bit of a shame, but there we go. And Lauren Hemp, as again, we should reiterate, Norfolk girl, North Walsham World Cup final. What an achievement that is. Let's turn our attentions back to this tonight then, Paddy. Two teams, obviously, who have made a lot of...
Just on Kevin's point, he's not a winger, is he? He's a defensive midfielder.
Well, I think he's played a range of positions, but primarily defensive midfield. Yeah, but let's turn our attentions to tonight. Bristol City away, as we said, awaits the victor. That means Norwich could have a week and try and remain on your chair, Paddy. Of Huddersfield away, Bristol City away, and Rotherham away before the international break. If they win here tonight, are you expecting them to win here tonight, Paddy? What's your score prediction?
They'll spite us. I'm joking. Of course, we want them to win. The same as that 1500 to my right. If we had a smoother journey down tonight to Bristol, in comparison with Southampton, where it took forever, then I wouldn't be averse to it. But it's decided in 90, isn't it? I think Norwich.
Well, it goes straight to penalties.
Yeah, no, it's going to be decided in 90. From our point of view, let's go positive. Let's go 3-1 Norwich. Continue on in the vein they finished on Saturday. You?
Yeah, I think Norwich win. I'm going to go for 1 goal fewer. I'm going to go a 2-1 win here tonight, which would put Norwich into the second round. I think if you want some good omen, or you can moan at me when this goes wrong, but Norwich have advanced from this round in 8 of their last 10 attempts. So you can either take that as a good stat, or I've cursed them. So we'll see how that goes. Plenty more coverage throughout the game. I'll be on our live blog on the Pinken Plus app. You can come and join me for live updates and debate. We'll have plenty more reaction and analysis to this game across our channels as well. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the game, and I'm sure we'll see you again very, very soon.